Overview. AWS offers computing power, database storage, content delivery, and other functionalities. AWS helps you build sophisticated applications with increased flexibility, scalability, and reliability. It runs web and application servers in the cloud to host dynamic websites. It can securely store all your files on the cloud so you can access them from anywhere. It can be used to manage databases like MySQL, PostgreSQL, Oracle, or SQL Server to store information. It can deliver static and dynamic files quickly around the world using a content delivery network. It can also send bulk email to your customers. Definitions. There are too many AWS definitions to list in this presentation. However, a link to most all of them can be found on the references slide under Definitions of AWS. Here are a few for reference. SMS, Server Migration Service. It allows you to migrate on-site servers to AWS easily and quickly. WAF, Web Application Firewall, gives you application-level protection and blocks SQL injection and cross-site scripting attacks. KMS, Key Management Service. It is a managed service that makes it easy for you to create and control the encryption keys used to encrypt your data. SQS, Simple Queue Service. The first service offered by AWS. It can be used to decouple your applications. It is a pull-based service. There are 5 design principles for operational excellence in the cloud. Perform operations as code. In the cloud, you can apply the same engineering discipline that you use for application code to your entire environment. You can define your entire workload as code and update it with code. You can implement your operation procedures as code and automate their execution by triggering them in response to events. By performing operations as code, you limit human error and enable consistent responses to events. Make frequent, small, reversible changes. Design workloads to allow components to be updated regularly. Make changes in small increments that can be reversed if they fail. Refine operations procedures frequently. As you use operations procedures, look for opportunities to improve them. As you evolve your workload, evolve your procedures appropriately. Set up regular game days to review and validate that all procedures are effective, and that means teams are familiar with them. Anticipate failure. Perform pre-mortem exercises to identify potential sources of failure so that they can be removed or mitigated. Test your failure scenarios and validate your understanding of their impact. Test your response procedures to ensure that they are effective and that teams are familiar with their execution. Set up regular game days to test workloads and team responses to simulated events. Learn from all operational failures. Drive improvement through lessons learned from all operational events and failures. Share what is learned across teams and through the entire organization. Applications of AWS. There are many applications of AWS. Below is a listing of how many services are available for each category on the AWS marketplace. They cover infrastructure software, DevOps, business applications, machine learning, data products, IoT, professional services, and industries. The impact of AWS on society. Through the AWS in Communities programs, AWS is making a positive impact around the world. STEAM events and sponsorships, where working hand in hand with nonprofit and non-government organizations, AWS offers sponsorships, employee volunteers, and in-kind donations. Future workforce development. AWS has built development programs for school students and individuals re-entering the workforce. Successful completion offer internships and careers at AWS. Environmental stewardship. AWS works on environmental projects and also sponsors sustainability-focused efforts to non-profit organizations in local. Engagement. AWS employees are dedicated to their communities, reflected in the thousands of hours of service in the places where they live, work, and raise their families. Here are links to the references to the subjects that have been covered so far.
When implementing AWS or any other sort of cloud computing service as a solution to a problem, we as engineers need to consider a few things. One of those is, since it is publicly hosted, we need to be concerned about the security of the information being sent, especially in more sensitive fields such as medical, government, etc. Usually these companies will hire outside consultations to check for any security risks so they can defend against them. Another issue is monitoring the spending being used by AWS, as an improperly built solution might be erroneously using the service more times than needing, thus increasing the cost and reducing the efficiency of the solution overall. When initially implementing AWS as part of the solution, we want to ensure that someone with the proper experience and knowledge base is there from the beginning to ensure that the service is set up correctly for the solution we're aiming for and that the specific company policies are followed. Without that proper knowledge and experience, it could be difficult to set up as intended, and it's also possible to set it up incorrectly to where we would increase the overall cost or open ourselves up to security risks if the proper settings aren't used. We also need to monitor the performance when using AWS. Since it is a publicly offered cloud service, under heavier loads, we might experience less processing than were initially intended had our company decided to use a private option. So we need to weigh the pros and cons of using AWS over a private cloud in terms of how often and are we able to deal with drops in performance and how much of a drop in performance is acceptable for the solution we're trying to use. And one final issue we should be mindful of when initially setting up AWS or another cloud computing service is that we have less control over that cloud than we would have over one we made ourselves at the company. This comes with more security on the physical side, as we as a company wouldn't be responsible for the protection of the cloud. However, this means that getting some higher level information from said cloud might be more difficult with a lot more bureaucracy, as we'd have to go through Amazon's AWS service to get such information.
Amazon Web Services offers some machine learning algorithms as part of their services. Some of the machine learning that they have are intelligent contact centers, which enhance customer service experience. They got some personalization, which improves customer engagement, and intelligent document processing, intelligent search, fraud detection, media intelligence, and business forecasting. All of these algorithms definitely can be used for the good of businesses when it comes to speeding up, scanning documents. Definitely is a time saver, great for time management. However, machine learning definitely has some potential to be bad and can be used for the negatives. Um, it all definitely depends on who's um, in control of this algorithm. So the problem with developing machine learning algorithms is that there's not a big presence as to what is good and bad. There's very little regulations from the government, not very many rules and regulations. And you have companies such as Facebook where they are collecting user data and selling it to advertising companies without really the consent of their users. And all of these things are definitely possible with the use of machine learning. And now, for some people, Amazon in general is unethical to use company, given how large scale it is. Amazon currently dominates the online retail market and the online clouding software AWS that they provide, as they host 83% of the entire cloud computing infrastructure market. This creates room for very little competition, as many companies would just prefer the much more well known and cheaper option, AWS, or shopping at Amazon, their retail website. They do offer some of the fastest shipping and the cheapest prices, as how big they are and how much presence they have. So some people just choose to boycott Amazon altogether just because of how they are killing small businesses, and it'd be hard to have a competition against them if they are monopolizing the entire industry.
And so we move on with the challenges with Amazon Web Services. The first and most important point is to establish why there's challenges to it, and that is because AWS is a very modern and innovative concept, which also, as anything that wants to grow over time, has many challenges to adapt in the near future if it's to grow and succeed. Like anything these days, it must innovate in order to stay relevant. There, we can break these challenges in, I would say, three main categories. The first one being security and compliance. The second would be performance, and the third would be cost optimization. It is of the most importance that Amazon fixes and extends their knowledge both for them and to the user, in order for all of us to get the maximum out of the system, and we can do it better. A general study was run by RightScale in 2018 about the cloud and AWS, and they were able to break down a few of the main challenges that people and business owners and personal users find with the cloud-based system. We can break it down, see that security seems to be the main issue, as almost 70% of the users finds it somewhat of a challenge at least. We can also see how the cloud spending, the lack of resources, the compliance and managing the performance and building a private cloud also brings a big, big trouble to the table to all the cloud-based systems to explain their systems better and to obviously get everyone into a habit of understanding and learning more about them. Breaking down the challenges with AWS, we have firstly security and compliance. And improper security settings can lead to big problems when working within the cloud, as in you don't want to maybe hit a button and perhaps share this with a people with a member of your team that's not supposed to see such document or text or anything. So understanding the security settings and settings overall is really important when dealing with the clouds, as you're dealing with pretty much important information. Um, Security groups that allow dangerous ports are open to the internet should be checked with network ACL. So this goes with encryption. You want to make sure that everything is encrypted in your system, and that because you could be storing a lot of information and different stuff in it. You also need to remember that any breach of information will be held accountable to someone, even if they don't really know how to use the system. So we can see that with AWS, the main problem with them is training. They need to train us and themselves on how to use this program better. The second challenge with AWS is definitely performance. Performance can include both availability of resources and speed. And even if AWS is now at the top of cloud providers and system providers such as AWS, where you have all the stuff that you can do in it as a very interesting and innovative stuff. Uh, Downtime and maintenance can always occur at any time. So let's say you're in a big important moment when you need your information, the cloud goes down, or you have a downtime in your internet. Well, that's definitely something to have on the back of your mind because it could happen. And the last and also very important is cost optimization of the challenges. Um, AWS goes as a pay for what you use system, but you can always incur into payments and then don't use the system anymore. So you could be spend like a recurring charge. So you could be spending a lot of money without really knowing what you're doing or paying for if you were to step away from a certain system like a DynamoDB or an EC2 inside. So it is very important to people to really keep their bill and be really attentive with that. And so we also have opportunities with AWS, since we've seen that it is flexible, cost-effective, reliable, and secure. We see how all these features hold together, and being part of such an industry like Amazon makes it very, very easy to use and very compatible with a lot of computers and a lot of systems, so it doesn't have to pull too much out of your computer. This is a trend that should continue to go forward, and there Amazon expects to keep establishing strategic partnerships to keep moving the system and making it more known for the whole world so more people and more businesses can use it. Also, one of the big, more wide benefits of AWS could definitely be the trade capital expense for variable expense. So instead of you having to invest heavily on data centers and servers before you know how to use them, you can only pay a fraction of that and use the cloud for all your storing. And then also, it also benefits from massive economies of scale. You can achieve a lower variable cost when you can get your own cloud. And obviously, AWS has a huge cloud based on a lot of systems everywhere. So it really helps the economy achieving a higher scale. So it can translate as a pay as you go system.
If you'd like to learn more about AWS, fortunately, there are training courses available that would help you get certified with using it. They offer a vast variety of certifications, ranging from becoming a certified cloud practitioner to being a certified system op administrator, and many more. And to make things easier, getting started with and learning AWS does not require any coding skills, as many of their basic tasks can be performed without coding. Some of the products that they offer are AWS Storage Gateway, which is a hybrid cloud storage service that gives you on-premises access to virtually unlimited cloud storage, or Amazon's S3 Glacier, which is a low-cost storage service that can reliably store their customers' data for as little as a fraction of a penny per gigabyte per month.
In compiling this project, our team made use of Microsoft Teams as required of us. In this slide, you can clearly see the buckets we created. We created one for every member of the team, as well as a catch-all one for tasks that all of us should contribute to. You can see that we also made use of the checklists to ensure when a task was completed, it was marked so that we can all see the current progress our team is making. We used Teams to delegate the tasks and also track progress, as mentioned previously, just to make sure we were going to finish in time for these presentation. We also used the file section to congregate our resources we found so that all of us had access to any resources we were using in case it helped with their specific topic. And we also used it to ensure we were keeping in communication with each other so that if any of us ran into any issues, we could tell another member and we could possibly get some help on it quick. Here we'd like to just pose some questions to the audience we feel they should be able to answer after our presentation. In general, what is AWS and what are some of its uses? What are some of the types of services offered by AWS? There are quite a few, so it's important to remember those and know what AWS can be used for. What are some of the barriers to a company implementing AWS for a solution? Important to remember when weighing the cost and benefits of it. What are some of the benefits of using AWS? And as Amazon is quite a large company and AWS is their service, ethically speaking, what are some of the issues that might appear when using AWS?